Welcome to What's in the Pot. I'm your host, Sean Grande, and today we're making barbecue jerk chicken. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. It's What's in the Pot. Thank you very much for tuning into What's in the Pot. So for our barbecue jerk chicken, the first thing we're going to be doing is we're going to start with making our marinade. Now for our marinade, I'm using 6 cloves of garlic. I'm using 2 stalks of green onions or scallions, and you can use fresh green onions, or if you have frozen green onions, go ahead and use that. It's equivalent to about 2 stalks. I'm using 2 Trinidad pimento peppers and 2 scotch bonnet peppers and a few sprigs of fresh thyme. I'm also using half a teaspoon of nutmeg and 1 teaspoon of ground cinnamon. You can use any kind of ground cinnamon or any kind of nutmegs, whatever you have in your pantry, go ahead and use that. I'm also using 1/3 of a cup of brown sugar. Make sure you want to use brown sugar. If you don't have brown sugar, then try to use white sugar. But we just want to add a little bit of the sweetness, and I'm adding 2 teaspoons of pimento powder or allspice powder. This is fresh pimento berries that I grounded up. I'm adding 1 teaspoon of salt and 1 teaspoon of black pepper. Add a little bit more salt and pepper to taste. I'm also adding 2 tablespoons of this mushroom soya sauce. This is a dark soy sauce, so it has a little bit of that saltiness to it, so you don't need to add too much salt. So now what we want to do is we want to blend everything up. I'm using the grind setting on the food processor. Now if you don't have a food processor, you can go ahead and use a blender, a magic bullet, anything like that. We just want to make sure that all the ingredients blend nicely together. We don't want to make it too chunky. We want it nice and smooth. I'm using 6 pieces of chicken thighs. What I did was I washed them out with some lemon juice and rinsed that out a couple times. As you know, most Caribbean people do. We like to wash our chicken before we cook it. Now the marinade I put in a little bit bottle because I'm not going to be using all the marinade for this recipe, so whatever you have left over, you can store it in the fridge. I'm going to be adding about 2 tablespoons of Badia Complete seasoning to season the chicken, and about 3 heaping teaspoons of our marinade. For this part, you can use gloves. I just like to use my hands. Is the way I grew up seasoning chicken. So make sure you get all those pieces of chicken nicely coated, nicely covered with that jerk seasoning, and we want to let this sit in the fridge for a minimum of 3 hours. Overnight would be even better. I have my grill set to 350 degrees, and I'm using a competition blend of wood pellets. You can use any kind of barbecue just as long as you're cooking at about 350 degrees, and we're gonna let that chicken cook for 20 minutes on each side. The first thing what we're gonna do is, while the chicken is cooking, I'm gonna be making my barbecue sauce. Now I'm using the leftover seasoning. Now what we want to do is we want to make sure we heat the seasoning up, because obviously we had raw chicken in the bowl. So take whatever leftover seasoning that's left in the bowl that you season your chicken with. If you had a Ziploc, go ahead and pour that out into a pot. I'm adding about 2 teaspoons of ketchup and about equivalent to maybe about a tablespoon of barbecue sauce. Use any kind of barbecue sauce you like. Add a little bit of water to the bowl, maybe about half a cup of water, and we're gonna let that simmer. Give it a good mix and let that simmer on the stove for about 15 to 20 minutes. So this is our chicken after 20 minutes. We're gonna give it one more flip, and we're gonna let it cook at 350 for another 20 minutes. This is after 40 minutes of cooking the chicken. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take the chicken and dunk it in our barbecue sauce. Once we dunk all the pieces of chicken in the barbecue, crank up your grill a little bit so your skin gets nice and crispy, and then cook that for about another 10 minutes until the chicken reaches about 165 degrees internal temperature. That means your chicken is completely cooked. I like to cook it till about 170. That's just being the Trini in me. I like to overcook my chicken just a little bit, not too much, so it dries out. And this is our final product. You can see the chicken there. It has that nice sauce that glazed it over right towards the end, and we can still see that heavy jerk marinade that we marinated our chicken in. So the longer you marinate your chicken, the more flavor you're gonna get. Thank you very much for tuning into What's in the Pot. That is my barbecue jerk chicken. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and share this with your friends and family, and follow us on social media at What's in the EPOT. Peace.